DHA. And Stacy.
I'm Stacy Michaels, president for the Sauk Center Chamber of Commerce.
And Heidi, Minnesota DHA. What is that?
We're a testing laboratory, so we test feed and forage, manure, milk.
Well, I think probably should get started, Logan.
Yeah, thank you all for being here today. Again, my name is Logan Gruber. I'm here to talk about how to tell if your website and marketing is working. We're here today because of the Sauk Center Chamber of Commerce and the Sauk Center Area Community Foundation for bringing Neil and I together to do these presentations. Again, Cohlab Digital Marketing is my employer, and University of Minnesota Extension is Neil's employer. So to dive right in a bit, today's topic again, how to tell if your website and marketing is working. We're going to kind of cover four steps or 4 stages of what you can be doing to see how things are going for yourself. So if you're already at one of these stages, hopefully the next step will be made a little more clear to you, but don't expect to jump 4 stages right away. These do take time to get used to and to understand. So the first stage, crawling, is just finding out, how do I find out how many people are really on my website every day? Like, how do you know that? The next stage, walking, is finding out where the people who are on your website are coming from, both in a physical sense, where they are in geography, as well as in a digital sense. Are they coming from Facebook or Google or another source that you're trying to draw traffic from? The third stage would be, what are those people on my website actually looking at? And then the final stage is, how many of my sales are coming from my marketing efforts on my website? So the first step, how many people are really on my website? How do I count that? Well, do that with software called Analytics. It's something that we install on every website at Cohlab. This, you can do it with either Google Analytics, which you might be familiar with. Again, on your website, you might have this already. So we're just gonna go over this briefly. Google Analytics, another alternative if you hate Google, which I do, but I still have to use Google, is Piwik, Piwik. There are other free analytics software out there. These are the 2 that I'm highlighting, and I'll get these links in the email afterwards for everybody as well. Sometimes if you have a website content management system like Weebly or Wix, there's some analytics built into that as well, so you may not need a third party. You can also get some data about the people who are going to your website by using a Facebook pixel if you're drawing traffic from Facebook, or from your Google My Business listing if you have that set up. But at any rate, to get the information, you need a line of code added to your website. It's called a tag. You can't track anybody without a tag. So in Google Analytics, it's gonna look like, I've got a pointer here, why am I not using it? Right here, this yellow boxed section. It's just a line of code like that. You can give that to your web developer and they can insert that in the right place to get you tracking. They might also use the tracking ID depending on your software, which is right here. It starts with a UA or a G. And then you'll be able to see a status report saying, okay, you have been receiving traffic, so it is working. So pretty straightforward. You just might need a little help from a developer to get that started for you. Now, once you've got that installed, you can see how many people are actually on your website at any given time of day, as well as over the course of a time period. So on Google Analytics, for instance, there's a left-hand menu here. If you go to Acquisition and Overview, it gives you a nice little glimpse at how many people have been on your site in the last half hour. And then at the top right, you can control a date range. And you can see, say, over the last month or over the last quarter, how many people have been on your website. And you can also compare time periods to see year over year or month over month how things have changed with your traffic. Now, where are the people on my website coming from? Now, this could be physically, where they're coming from. I want to know if I've got customers in North Dakota, or if I've got customers coming from the Twin Cities, or are they coming from a digital source earlier, like Google or Facebook? So in Google Analytics, how you would kind of see and understand this data is on the left-hand menu, again, under acquisition, where are the people being acquired from. Under user acquisition, you can change what you're looking at down here at the bottom to user source and medium, and then again, adjust your time period. And it's going to give us some good information. I'm going to kind of describe what you're going to see. That way you can better understand it when you look at it. First up, there's one called direct or none. So what does something like that mean? Where does that digital traffic come from? Well, this just means that Google cannot tell where that traffic is coming from. It's either being blocked by that person's browser, they're using some sort of browser blocking software, or it's just convoluted and Google can't assign it to a single source. The next set of traffic is from Google organic. That means that people came through Google search results organically, not through Google ads, not through like an ad on a Google map or on anywhere else. It's just the organic search results in Google. The same thing with Bing, that would be the organic. m.facebook.com is just Facebook, but somebody using a mobile browser. That's what the m. usually means, is a mobile browser. Baidu is a search engine like Google. Yahoo is. msb.net means that someone, that website is linking to your website. So if it has a whole website address listed in there, a whole domain, that means that that website must have a link to your website somewhere, and you're getting traffic from them, which is a good thing. DeosGloria.com is the same thing. L.facebook.com is just another version of Facebook, and DuckDuckGo is another organic search engine. You'll also be able to see, depending on what you're doing for your marketing efforts, if people are coming through your emails, if you're doing like MailChimp or Constant Contact, that'll be represented here. You'll also be able to see things like like Instagram or other social media, Twitter, LinkedIn. Those will all show up here as well. Now that you can kind of see digitally where they come from, you also want to see physically where they come from. So in Google Analytics, again, for example, on the left-hand side, we go down to user demographics, into demographic details, and then you can adjust it to be country level or city level. So I usually go city level because country level is kind of useless, I feel like. And then set your date range at the top again. And then you'll be able to see how many users in that given date period are from different cities. Now, this isn't true like you're not going to see Meyer Grove on here. What you're going to see is you're going to see the zip code level. So it'll be Sauk Center, Melrose, Belgrade. It's going from the zip code post office level. You know, it says Grand Forks here, but it could be anywhere in the outlying areas around Grand Forks. As long as they have a Grand Forks zip code approximately, that's what their IP address will show. So looking through that, you'll actually see on this website, they also have a lot of robot traffic. You might see Beijing. So not a lot of users from Beijing are actually coming to this website. It's bot traffic. So that's something that you can block later with other software. But it's something to be aware of, that it can muddle your results and make it harder to see what you're doing if you've got bots in there. All right, let's take a quick break here for a second to check if there are any questions on what we've done so far, the first crawling and walking stages.
The first step that you referenced, Logan, regarding setting up, where you said you might need a developer to be involved.
Yes.
Is that something that through Cohlab, your services are something that would be offered to help make that happen?
It depends. I mean, it's something that is pretty straightforward to do. I think that that's something that we could help with, or I could just provide you advice and guidance on as well. You might be able to do it yourself depending on your particular CMS or content management system. So thank you. Good question. Good question.
Heidi, Stacy, or Rebecca, I'm just curious, are you already using Google Analytics?
No, we are not.
Okay. Just helps
No.
us kind of understand. Yeah, great.
Yeah, my management system gives me some feedback regarding activity on our website, but not to the depth of what Logan has shared. So I know that we should have access to that. So it would be nice to be able to dig a little deeper. And I think it would be great to be able to give our members a little more feedback too of the traffic, a little bit more fine-tuned information regarding the traffic. I think that's really interesting what he just showed. So real benefit to looking at that.
Yeah, and for you, Stacy, I mean, and I'll go over this a little bit later, but you could actually see how many people from a particular town are on a particular brand's page, like Cohlab's page on the chamber site, and you give that data to them. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, we've been using Google Analytics for at least 15 plus years. It's a great tool.
Awesome.
Great. So we'll be interested to hear toward the end, Rebecca, what stage you're at in your sophistication. So it sounds like you're beyond walking. So we'll love to hear more about that.
Any more questions at this point? Otherwise, I'll continue. So third stage, what are the people who are on my website from a particular city or a digital source looking at? So in Google Analytics, again, for example, on the left-hand side, you'll want to select engagement and pages and screens. And you can actually, for me, it's easiest to see the actual web address of the page they're visiting, because sometimes the page title gets muddled. So at the bottom here, I switch it to page path and screen class. And then you can again adjust your date depending on what kind of data you want to see. And it's going to give you the actual URL for the page. I apologize. I have a puppy in the room. I don't know if you can hear her whining. So your website's, say like Cohlab.com. At the end of it, it's going to have a slash. That's referencing the home page. So Cohlab.com/ or Cohlab.com/about us. That would be this page. So kind of knowing your URLs helps here. Otherwise, copy and paste this and put it at the end of your website address, and you'll know exactly what page is being referenced. On this page, you can take a look at the number of users and see the total number of users on each section, as well as like how long they were engaged for on average. So on the home page, for instance, people tend to spend about 50 seconds on the home page on this website. But on the about page, they tend to spend a minute and a half. So there's maybe a little more content for them to read there, or maybe they're looking for a specific person to learn more about the business, etc. Here we have a recipes page, 2 minutes on the recipes page. So people are interested about the recipes. You can find different insights that way, see where people are spending their time or where you want people to spend more time and they aren't. And lastly, how many sales are coming from my website and marketing? Putting it all together, who is on your website? Where are they coming from? Via what path to a specific page, whether you've got a store page or a contact page or a member page, a membership page. On the left-hand side of Google Analytics, you're going to go to engagement, pages and screens again. And at the top here, we're going to add a comparison. So what you can do is you can add a dimension to those pages we were looking at earlier that can show you what city the people on that page were coming from, maybe an age demographic if you're looking for, 65 to plus or, 35 to 55 or whatever it is. And then you can also add things like the website source. So Google, Facebook, Instagram, etc. So when you put all that in there, you can then look at a specific page and what users are coming from digitally and physically and see what they're looking at and how engaged they are. For instance, here we see the home page. There are 800 users on the home page in this time period, but people who are coming from Crookston through Google search is 3. So I don't know if you can hear my dog, I apologize. But so seeing where they come from and through what source can help you understand if your marketing efforts in particular are working. So if you've got Facebook ads running or Google ads running, if you've been doing search engine optimization and trying to get people to a specific contact page or sales page, it can help you understand if that really worked or not. If you're running ads in a newspaper and you need to see whether more people came to your website after running a specific set of ads in the Peach or a specific set of ads in a particular city's newspaper, that can help you understand that better. So let's pretend, for example, there's 1,000 visitors on your store page, on your purchasing page or on your contact page, and you've had 200 sales through your website this month. That'd be 20% of your visitors on that page ending in a purchase. Well, you can then help yourself extrapolate that data and look at, okay, I had people from Crookston coming on the page, probably 20% of those people purchased unless. So if you have a shop page or a contact page on your website, you're hopefully collecting address data. You know generally where people are coming from physically. The analytics can help you figure out whether your digital campaigns are panning out as well as your newspaper campaigns. And then if you're getting people calling in on the phone, you might be wondering, well, these people calling from my website, or they're calling from my Google My Business. This can help you figure that out as well. If people are coming from your contact page, coming to your contact page and dialing you directly or clicking with a mobile phone. On your Google My Business listing, when you have a Google My Business listing in Google and they click the phone number, it doesn't take them to your website, it dials you directly. But you'll be able to see that in your Google My Business analytics as well. And lastly, the most important piece of any of this, and that I need from all of my clients as well, is you have to ask. So if somebody is coming in the store or somebody is on the phone, you have to ask, how did you hear about us? In fact, I just had an inbound from Alberta, Canada. And I was like, how the heck did you find me in Sauk Center, Minnesota? You're in Alberta, Canada. They came through a blog that I wrote. They found the blog online, read it, liked what they read, went to my contact page and filled out a contact form. If I hadn't asked, I would not have known that my blog paid off that way. And then I can tell my boss that I can attribute that sale to that particular blog post. And then you can continue efforts in that vein if that's working for you. I'm going to stop there. I apologize. I got super distracted at the end. Thank you for sticking with me. Happy to answer lots of questions now that my door isn't being knocked on. So Sure. And I will ask a few questions, but I just want to mention, one other thing that I think is important in the analytics side. And it's not just who's coming to your site that you're getting information about, but really you touched on it briefly, how people are using your site and how people are using the resources that you've put together to hopefully help channel them toward a sale or a contact or, some type of action. And that information about how long people are staying on pages is like gold. Other information is available in Google Analytics. We just kind of touched the surface. And I think one way to look at this is now you have this great feedback mechanism for the things you're trying on your website and how your customers are responding to it. And the folks that I've seen in the past that sort of understand that, they almost get addicted to seeing the things that they're changing and trying to see movement in some of the analytics that they're collecting. I know. Oh, sorry, if I can interject for a second. And it is fun to watch analytics, but make sure you don't get bogged down in it either. It can be a huge time suck. I have clients who strictly pay me just to look at their analytics for them and turn it into a digest, a readable text that they can then digest easily without having to dive through all of the numbers. So it can get a little overwhelming. Take it slow. Like I said, you're not going to jump to step 4 right away.
Right. Well, I asked Rebecca over a direct message if she'd be willing to just share a little bit about how they're using Google Analytics. We know that you said you've had it installed for several years now and you've been using it. And maybe you could give us some of the high level insights that you've gathered throughout your use of it.
Yes, we've, like I said, been using it for several years. It initially started out just to kind of track the amount of traffic that was coming to the site and, take a look at the page structures of our website itself and how we could adjust keywords and then in return see, if the page traffic increased, if the time that they were on the page increased, if it ultimately led them to submitting a contact form or a quote form. So, each little piece that you put in place can help significantly with your overall, web presence and get a better idea of what you need to do, like within your web page structure, to be viewed by Google and the other search engines as the authority out there, right? Because they're always looking to see who's the expert.
And Rebecca, you said it started out that today, is your business using it in different ways than when you first started using Google Analytics or some maybe other analytics products that you might be having installed or in place?
Yes, initially it was just to kind of track the traffic and such. We've definitely grown over the years to using it. We have a web company that assists us with our SEO. So we meet with them on a monthly basis and go through all of the various reports that are available through the Google Analytics to refine, how we have our pages structured, a lot of the keyword usage and things like that to help increase that traffic.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that. It definitely sounds like this isn't just kind of a side project, that this is built into sort of your overall advertising and marketing strategy. It's one component, but it's an important one nonetheless.
Correct. Very important.
Thanks for sharing that. I know it's always helpful to hear from other businesses that are maybe a step ahead of where you're at if you're just at the starting line. And I really appreciate you willing to share a little bit more about that. Stacy or Heidi, what kind of questions are coming up for you today?
For myself, it's just kind of back to the beginning. Even though my current website gives me some of that information in the provider we use for our database, that I can dig into some of that a little bit more fine-toothed than what they're able to give me. So I'm excited to try to look at that, because I think that it'll really help to see those numbers on a regular basis.
There's a lot of empowerment that comes with your having access to it as well, and being able to look at it whenever you're interested and to track things in real time. That's a really big difference from other types of advertising that you might be able to purchase, and an advantage that I think many people over time have seen with things like Google Analytics, where, if you did make a separate page or you did have a promotion, you could see if that was working the day that it's up there, and understand how and why. There are a lot of resources out there to help you as well. I mean, sometimes it's just knowing that these terms exist. Don't feel like you have to learn it all right away, but there are plenty of resources out there to help you as you have questions.
Well, I love these kind of informational opportunities, because it breaks down the verbiage as far as seeing Logan go through the slides and the information that he's prepared and his explanation of how it's working. And then you see the terminology on the page that you're looking at, and it seems a lot less overwhelming when you're looking at all the jargon. It just makes it a little less intimidating to realize, the average user can dig into that and get that information. So that's really helpful. So I really appreciate both of your time.
Yeah, there, like Neil said, there's a lot of great resources out there, especially if you just pop on YouTube, for instance. I mean, there's tons of people out there explaining how to do analytics better. I have some videos out there as well. If you go to the Cohlab YouTube channel and check those out. I don't know if the U of M extension does anything related to like online marketing or anything like that as far as content.
I did look in preparation for today, and the fact sheet that I wrote about analytics with my colleague is now 13 years old. So I think things might have changed a little bit since then. I know I can't remember. I couldn't even remember writing it until I searched. There have been a lot of really good resources that talk about maybe the broader strategy around marketing and online and how you can sync that up with your analytics. And I will try to find the name of the book and send it to you, Logan, so we can get it out to everyone. I'm totally blanking on what it is. Logan, any final thoughts?
It's super important to see where people are at on your website, and also to see like the negative space of where they aren't. So knowing like what opportunities you're missing. If you have a really fantastic page and nobody's going to it, or very few people are going to it, maybe there's a technical issue with that page where it's being hidden from Google search results, or it's not being shared properly on social media. So it can key you into problems with the way you're building your website, or the way you're sharing certain things or doing your links. If you shared a miswritten link, things like that. So pay attention to where people aren't as well, so that you can spot problems early. And there's so much to learn. So have fun.
Well, I think our plan is to go just for a half hour. Goes by pretty quickly each morning that we do this. And again, we're trying to do these on the first Wednesdays of each month. And in the coming months, we'll do additional sessions. Logan, do you remember what the titles for those are, or the?
You got to ask me. I know we were kind of concentrate on specific industries.
Yeah.
Restaurants.
I think restaurants will be our next month. We'll focus in on restaurants and how to support them. And then I believe that we're looking at tourism-based businesses, or businesses that are entertainment-based businesses. If you'd like us to think about your industry and come up with some specific thoughts about that, just let us know. Rebecca, I think it might be fun and interesting to talk with you more and see if there are manufacturers in the area that, we could be thinking about that as well. As normal, we'll stay on. We'll stop recording. You can ask any questions you like. And if you need to get going, we'll let you go on with your day. But Logan and I usually like to stay on for a minute or two and visit with you if there's something that's still on your mind.